Okay, on. So, welcome to tonight's F&GP meeting. So, first agenda item 22, 23, 23, apologies for absence, there's none to be noted. 22, 23, 24, disclosures of interest, declarations of interest for councillors for items on the agenda. Do we have any? That looks like a no. Written requests for dispensations for disclosable pecuniary interest. Non-received. Okay, so moving swiftly on. 22, 23, 25. The minutes of the previous meeting to confirm as correct record. Has anybody got any comments or amendments on the minutes?
Proposed. Seconded.
Proposed by Councillor Curdale, Councillor Trueworth. All in favour?
I'm abstaining, I want there.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Confidential 22, 23 and 26, confidential items to be discussed after item 41. Is there anything that anybody thinks needs to move? No? Okay. 22, 23, 27, public participation. Members of the public, this is your opportunity to speak. Hi Jennifer.
Hello.
Would you like to speak? I assume you would.
Can I as regards the capital of culture, because you're going to be discussing that later, within about 2 or 3 days of it being announced, the Beck Lane think tank swung into operation and came up with a number of activities that we'd like to do in that year. In 3 sections, basically, activities amongst the tenants, the suggestions of activities that we could generate, I think you'd perhaps say, for outside groups to cooperate with us over. But the one I just wanted to raise really tonight is looking forward towards having an open day, a full open day. But that would necessitate putting quite a bit of work into doing things like making paths appropriate for people with all sorts of abilities and whatever. And because of the site being terraced, making paths and reinstating paths is not a quick job. So if we were looking at starting around now towards that. But I'd just like to say that if we have an open day, it would be very nice to do it when people from the town council can come along as well. The last time we did one, unfortunately, we clashed. So that's it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That all seems something we'll consider as we move forward. So thank you, Jennifer. So we've had a request to bring forward items 22, 23, 34, the website, and 22, 23, 36, the allotments, just so people can then leave. So we'll jump to 22, 23, 34 next. Website / information dissemination. To consider whether to pursue an alternative website provider and to agree whether to continue with the subscriber process with the current website. Ruth, do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Mine's mainly about the subscriber point. So we have a website at the moment where we put posts up on the website, and we have a subscriber base of about 350 to 400 people, and it automatically emails those subscribers to let them know that the post is there, so like pushes out to them. We're experiencing problems with that at the moment, where we're not being able to use that facility. And the solutions that are being put to us, except one that's just happened, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, seems to require us to start paying a small fee for another piece of software that will enable that to happen, or possibly use another method which might be more time consuming. And I suppose the sort of question was how important the ability for us to push out messages in that way was to see if the council would be open to paying some extra costs to facilitate that. Or I have just had an email from our current provider saying they've got a sort of workaround which may enable us to do 3 posts a day and it still work as it is, and it's probably unlikely that we need to do more than 3 posts. But just understanding from your point of view as a council how important you feel it is to be able to push out these posts to our subscribers.
Well, as everyone will know, I'm keen we engage more with people out there. So I would think anything that we do want to post on the website, we would want to push out to people. I suppose the broader issue is we have discussed in the past whether we think we need a new website. I, for one, don't find it particularly easy to find documents on there when I'm looking for it. But interestingly, when we were recruiting for the new admin officer, every candidate said they found our website quite easy to use. So as an external person, maybe people do use it in a different way to us. And is it meant to be a document repository for us? I suppose it's not, and we should maybe use Teams for that, but I don't know what anyone else generally thinks.
Well, if we're having to do workarounds and patching of an existing website, that's not the answer. We need to get a proper website that'll give us all the functionality we need. So I think we need to look for something, because really things move on, don't they? Technology, and so if you're doing a patch over, you need to do another one, and it'll just carry on forevermore. So to me, go for a new website.
So investigate.
I suppose what we're asking for here is because our new admin assistant is starting work next week, and one of her tasks will be to investigate a new website if it's agreed. So it was whether we get sort of go ahead to start investigating this, because it's been discussed but not been officially agreed.
So I think that
I propose we go ahead.
we agree to investigate a new website. Yeah.
So is the proposition to investigate other options and other websites?
Yeah, and come back with a report. Effectively.
Great.
Yeah, agreed.
All in favour,
On the subscriber model that Ruth and this you'll find inconsistent with the rest of my opinions on engagement, I think, Philippa, but I've not subscribed to it because I didn't know that was an option. I would have and I will, but what is the content of these updates? Because I don't know about you, but I get loads of emails into my inbox every day and I read maybe 5% of them. So I'm wondering if we're going to change the avenue. We are trying to engage more. There are lots of other avenues that we can take, and is this one that we need to continue with? I mean, how much value do people think that it has? Do people come back in touch with the council and say, "Oh, I saw this update, it's very interesting, can you tell me more?" I mean, I don't have that visibility.
I mean, I do get it. I don't get. I'm still sure I don't get something every time you post something, but it's the monthly newsletter that goes out that says this is what is for me the main information piece. The other things that come out, I do get some when you post things, and they are largely. I glance at them, and that's probably as far as it goes. But if we can do 3 posts a day, we think.
Well, it's just set something up which you said I can't trial till tomorrow.
Yeah. But I think that will carry us forward for a while whilst we do the website investigation.
Website,
If it works, I suppose if it doesn't work and it takes you some time to do the websites, whether as an interim basis you want to set something up which might, I think it might only be £15 a month to set this little interim thing up, but it's whether you were open to spending some money to do that.
I think at this point I'd probably prefer EMAC to have a think about the broader strategy. If the 3 doesn't work, we'll bring it back to another meeting, I think. But if the 3 does work, then we'll carry on and
Along with that for the time being.
we'll fold it into.
Yeah.
I think 3 is sufficient anyway, don't you?
If it works, if what is set up works, then I think it should enable us to do about 3 posts a day, which would be sufficient. And then if you move to another website, will it be a whole new set anyway?
I mean, I want to know what's going on the day where we have 4 emails that need to go out. That sounds like a hell of a day.
What's happened that
Posts
day?
Yeah.
sort of wider posts.
Okay, so I think we're agreed on that
Yeah,
one.
we're agreed on that.
Yeah. So if we then move on to
Allotments, is it?
22, 23, 36 allotments, to receive an update on allotments and to consider any issues and agree any actions. John, is this you? This is probably where Mr. Fenton would have been useful
You
as well.
and Andrew into it, really.
Yeah, it did. I thought, I didn't know whether Ruth were going to say something.
Allotments, yeah.
I thought that's why
That's
she.
why I brought it forward, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've discussed before one allotment holder.
We had Andrew and I and Ruth went on site and had a look around. I thought she might have it all written down, but anyway, sorry, her being Ruth.
Well, I mean, I can, but
It's fine.
it's you.
It's fine. We looked at the derelict building, we've decided that's got to go, okay? We've been down to the bottom where it's against the bottom fence where it's all overgrown. We've decided that that ought to be left as it is because that's a wildlife, could be a wildlife and just left, but trimmed at the top to make it so that it identified between the lower part and the regular allotments. On the trees, excuse me, that might be Andrew Fenton. So that's Andrew Fenton. There. Hi, Andrew. Yeah, there's supposed to be a meeting tonight, mate. That's all, and I just rung you to let you know.
Where was I supposed to be?
In the office for the Finance and General Purposes Committee, postponed last week, brought forward to this week. Okay.
I didn't know.
No, okay, fine. I just rung to so in case you could come. That's all. Okay, Andrew.
Is it up today then, yeah?
We're in the meeting now. Yes. Okay.
Okay, pal, cheers.
Right, bye. Okay. Trees.
Just on plot 23, there was another thing that you talked about, besides the trimming, if I can.
Go on.
add that. It was just you were talking about.
Oh, yes,
making
yes,
paths
yes.
to the fence.
Yes. Pardon?
You were going to improve an access to the path.
Right. Yes.
So you were going to leave most of it.
There's access through there's a metal fencing which ran the perimeter of Becklane allotments, which gives access to down to the canal, etc., etc. It's uneven, to say the least, for anybody who wanting to get down and do any work in there. Andrew is a builder, and he was talking, asking if it would be appropriate if he tipped some rubble there to make this path even. So basically, I'm suggesting that it should be able to do that because it make it
Smooth it
make
out
it safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the trees, we've been given permission to cut some trees down. Initially, Andrew were concerned about cutting all the trees down in what used to be the allotment. His concern was about protests from people who like trees. So what we were recommending is the trees that there's some trees on the gill side, which is a beck that runs down the side of the site. Bradford Council have agreed we can take one tree out, but it needs permission. We've decided we'd like to go ahead with that first, get on with that, and I understand there's some ivy needs cutting back. So that's where we'd agreed on that. That's Andrew and I. There was another issue about a fence, where somebody's put a fence across an allotment, well kept allotment, so the person with the best kept the superiorly kept allotment is complaining because there's weeds growing under the fence that he's perimeter barrier fence that he's put up. It's a storm in a teacup in my view. All he needs to do is pull the weeds out. All the other fella needs to do is cut the weeds back about a foot from the other side, and near the twain shall meet. It seems stupid. That's another issue. So I've asked Ruth if she'd write to allotment holder who has the plot with the weeds that are encroaching on the other chaps, and asked if he will cut them back
Trim them
to a
back.
foot.
Can I come in there, John? It's only a more point of view, the trees you're talking about cutting down.
Yeah.
I mean, in the high temperatures we get at the moment, anything about cutting trees down doesn't sound right.
No. This is to do with light. Now, I'll be perfectly frank. In my view, it won't make a jot of difference anyway. But it appears that everybody except for me and Andrew thinks that it's going to make a difference. There's solid trees all the way around. I don't think it's going to make a jot of difference. But that's where we are at the moment. It's been sort of agreed that we've had prices to get the trees cut back.
Okay.
The other issue that we went to look at was a plot that's the plot holder is ill. Our recommendation is to give that plot holder. She wanted, I say she, the person, I don't know who it is, wanted time. Said they couldn't do anything for a couple of months. We decided that we recommend that we give her 3 months to try and make us to improve it by 25%. I think does that cover it all, Ruth?
Yeah, right, well done.
Thank you. Okay.
So you want us to accept your recommendations that
At this stage,
that she get
Yes,
that allotment
yes.
holder gets an additional 3 months.
yes, which is well outside, but it's a one-off case. There is one other issue that I haven't covered, and that was the height of trees. Now, there again, this is a sort of controversial issue about fruit trees, etc., etc. I think it's a common sense thing. Ruth wants to have a specific height, and I don't think you can do that. I think it depends where the trees are, whether it's in the middle of a plot. When there's an issue, they keep bringing this issue about shading, which I think is pitiful. You know, the amount of shade a 10-foot tree is going to cause. But my view is, and Andrew agreed, is it's down to the council to decide whether we ask people to cut them lower if they get too high.
And what does the tenancy agreement? Is it 6 foot or 8 foot?
It's 6 foot. I think in majority it's 6 foot, but it's very low as 6 foot.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, there's 30 foot apple trees, historic apple trees on pear trees on the site. So, there's all various different things, but the majority are kept. And also to recommend that anybody who does plant the fruit, if they'd like to plant a fruit tree, is to put it on a sort of dwarf-ish, a small
Dwarf variety, yeah.
no, root stock.
All right.
So you have different root stocks, so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tree don't get as high, but you can still get them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so to try and summarise, you're recommending a 3-month extension for one plot holder.
Yeah.
You're recommending, what about the fence? That we,
Can I just give on that 3 month? It was also that when we did review it, they'd only have to do
25%.
I did say 25%,
Yeah.
didn't I? Yeah.
But if nothing's done, what happens?
Well, we'll
ta-
look at it after 3 months. I mean,
Well, should we tell them straight away what the score is? Or are we edging his bets there? No, if the end of the day that's nothing happens in that period,
yeah.
then do they forgo the tenancy of the plot?
I think it'll have to be reviewed again after the time
Will it?
lapses, depending on how the circumstances of the plot holder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walking, yeah, okay. That's,
So the fence, you were talking, the fence round the site,
No,
was that a recommendation? So what are your recommendations? We've done
we
that
allow,
one time.
we allow Andrew when he gets appropriate sort of rubble to fill in. It's a
The
bad
path.
slope. It's uneven.
The path to the canal.
but basically just put sort of hardcore down initially to not level it out to I don't know. I say level it out.
Smooth it.
Smooth it
Yeah.
out. That's it. Yeah.
So they're the two recommendations.
Yeah.
Can I just check on that one? So if you accept that, are you also wanting to inform the person that had been commissioned to level the whole area, who hasn't done it for a year, that we are withdrawing the contract?
Yeah. Well, you might as well because he's not coming, is he? He's not coming, Ruth.
He doesn't appear. I mean,
No,
he
he's not
still
coming.
says he's coming, but at some point, but he hasn't. Do you know what I mean?
He got his fingers burnt doing the demolition, and he's not coming.
I mean, he hasn't said that. but-
No, I haven't. But that's what's happening.
But he was originally meant to come months and months ago, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was doing the hut demolition and he was doing the plot level.
It was
and
the
he has done the hut demolition.
Yeah, and it's
But which we've paid him for, haven't we?
yeah.
Have we actually done
Yes.
the bill?
Yeah, we agreed. Well, we agreed to pay him.
You agreed to pay him, but I don't know whether he submitted the bill. You agreed that you would be prepared to pay him for the work that he's done if you want, if he wanted to. But I'm not sure he's actually put in the bill. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, no, well, that's
Because
good,
he
isn't
might have
it?
been waiting to do the other part.
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good
So
good point.
we'll need to write to him and tell him.
That's what I'm just checking, that if you agree to that, are you wanting me to formally tell him that we're withdrawing from that? Because at the moment, we haven't. I have indicated, when I spoke to him last time and said, when are you coming? And he still didn't have another date, till sort of October, I said, well, it may be that the council decide they have to take, a different approach. And he just said, well, let me know. And I said, well, I will.
Fine, let him know we're taking a different approach.
So I suppose that would be minuted, do you know what I mean? Just felt it needed to be minuted what you wanted me to
Lewis?
do.
Just as a question, and I think it's a great idea for Andrew to offer the rubble and the labour to do it. Really annoying question. What happens if someone walks along there and trips and stumbles across what should be a newly levelled path? But what if it isn't? Who's liable? I hope Andrew personally isn't. Are we as a council? I know it's an annoying
I think
question.
we're probably
but I think it
liable
needs to be
now
asked.
as the.
I would have
allotment.
thought Bingley Town Council would be liable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's less likely to happen with a less uneven path, which
Exactly.
Andrew would sort.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So do we need to vote on that? I assume we do. I'll propose those recommendations. All in favour? Yeah.
Can I just check about the hut demolition? So is that?
I don't think that's being voted on.
So you're going to, because there was just something to add on that one. So
Yeah.
that the recommendation, as I understood it, was to demolish the hut, but also for us not to let the plot out until that had been demolished, and for us to trim the plot while we waited for demolition, so it didn't get completely overgrown.
Yeah. Yeah, I can propose that. That was another issue. It's getting overgrown. There is sort of fruit trees and stuff, as in, I think there's raspberries and things like that in that particular area. Probably just keep on top of it a little bit. So try and get a contractor to trim it off.
Okay, just before we vote on that one, Jennifer, I'm quite happy for you.
May I say something? Right, well, plot 23 hasn't been cultivated at all since we had the arson on the site, which is about
I just think we need to be
2010.
quite careful about naming either names or plots or.
Plot 23, that's the unlet one.
No, all right, okay.
Yeah. So it's not a wildlife area.
It is.
It's
It is a wildlife
It's
area.
a breeding ground for weeds.
No, yeah, okay. It's full of grasses at the moment. Okay.
And docks.
Yeah, okay.
So it's absolutely. I went down there today because we had somebody to look at to identify whether we had giant hogweed or not.
And we haven't.
And we haven't, fortunately.
Oh, good.
But I've actually never seen it so bad because obviously the hot weather, the weeds proliferated. So the neighbouring plots, when it's windy, we get the benefit of all the weed seeds. And it sounds to me as if you've decided that that plot's not going to be ever re-let, which the whole point was that we would work towards it being improved and re-let.
Right.
Now, I'm not happy about rubble being dumped with the best will in the world.
So how? Go on.
We've made a ramp down onto that plot with well, in fact, they were the turfs you gave us. We've made a ramp down, so topsoil could be used to make a ramp perfectly well. Because once you put rubble down, you'll never get it back up again.
We don't want to get it back up again.
John, can we have the...
Sorry, I just get a bit frustrated sometimes, sorry. Carry on.
The trees in the annex,
Yeah,
the trees that we have been given permission to take down,
yeah,
and the tree preservation officer that's given us permission to take them down, and we've got the planning application through. I mean, basically, she just said that they were of no environmental benefit because they're all sycamore seedlings. They're very crowded together. They're basically just telegraph poles with a few leaves on the top, and there's no wildlife in there. So they were more than happy for us to take them down. But there is a legal issue. They are growing on original allotments. There are 2 allotments the other side of the security fence, and they were bought in 1933, 32, 33. They were bought for allotments, which makes them statutory allotments, which makes it illegal to either change use or permit the usage to change. That is, if you let the tree seedlings grow on it, you're actually changing the usage, and that actually is not legal. So if I would suggest that if you think about this now, we've gone over all this before. The decision was to have the trees down, replace with native, with a visual amenity, fruit trees, nut trees, and autumn and spring colour, so that that would hopefully, at the moment the sycamores are about 60 foot high. They could go another 20 foot.
So I'm a little confused. So you're saying these 2 plots should be allotments, but we're going to do something different with them that's not an allotment anyway?
My interpretation is that we're currently, by allowing the trees to be there, we're breaking a law because they are statutory allotments that cannot be changed.
Bradford broke the law before they transferred the allotments to us.
Yeah, it's a very long story that you don't want to hear. But it was one of those situations where the person who could have done something about it was not in possession of the deeds for the land, as to who actually owned what. But we do know now, and obviously because you've got the map.
Can I just add something on that, the trees? My understanding from Andrew was just that he was suggesting that they did the Beck ones first.
That's
see
right.
how that went, and he hadn't made a decision on the main ones. He was just saying his I don't know, so let's say preference was to do those first and get that work done. It was more about ordering. He hadn't made it.
So we've got permission to remove one, and we're going to move ahead on that.
No, we've got permission to move one, but we have to apply to which one it's going to be, don't we, Jennifer?
So we've had the lady that gave us put the planning permission through for us for
She's-
the other trees, she gave us a verbal understanding.
Exactly.
She pointed
It
out
has-
which tree that she would give permission to be removed.
That's right, but it still would have to be applied for by the tree surgeon.
Yeah, we've to put the planning or somebody's to put the planning application.
It does put a different light on it if it's a legal issue. As I said, Andrew were concerned about just the tree being a tree. If this committee decides wants to, I think we have costs for cutting these trees down.
Yeah,
don't we?
I
One or
attempted
two.
to get 3 quotes.
Yeah.
I've got 3 quotes for the 13 trees that are the sort of bottom
Right,
line on the allotment.
that's on the allotment.
The new work, I've only got 2 quotes for those, or the ones that Andrew was recommending
Yeah.
that you proposed to do first. I've only got 2 quotes because one of my people wouldn't supply a quote for that work, and therefore if that was the work that you wanted to prioritise, I'd probably have to go and get another quote just for.
But is
Well,
that a quote that's dependent on us getting the appropriate planning permission?
On-
Don't we
on
need
those
to get the planning
quotes-
permission
No,
first?
No,
And
no.
they quoted on the basis that they would get
They get-
planning
they
permission
apply for
that
it.
because
Oh.
we've already got indicative approval, and I've got an email from the tree people. So they were quite happy to quote on the basis that if we commissioned them to do that piece of work, they would apply for the planning permission for these
So,
down the bank.
I'm not against cutting these trees down, don't get me wrong, it's just that Andrew were concerned about the backlash we were going to get from the Bingley community.
for cutting them down, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm quite happy to, as we've got a quote, is to get.
But we haven't got a quote.
I've formally submitted it to your meeting.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we have got a quote for the
And that-
13 trees.
Yeah, we might have a
haven't
quote
seen that.
over there. We as a group do not have a
Haven't seen
quote
that.
on the
I
agenda tonight.
understand. Right,
Yeah.
okay. So that we'd need to take the decision after looking at the quotes.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just that if you are interested in doing that other piece of work down the side, then I need to get you another quote for it, because although I, as I say, asked for 3 quotes, only 2 were prepared to quote for that side work.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, if you were doing the 13, they could be provided,
Yeah, you got
relatively
enough.
quickly.
Yeah. But, well, go on.
I think we ought to have something down in print about what our objectives are here and what we're going to do, because we could easily run foul or something.
Right. So with that in mind, as regards the aesthetics of the i.e. people complaining, if it's a legal issue, it ain't a problem, is it?
Right.
So I'm quite happy to recommend that we go ahead with that as and when. In other words, bring 3 quotes back to the next F&GP.
I think we need a 1 page of what and why and the quotes, don't we?
Okay.
Does that mean we don't want to go ahead with the 1 tree that we've
Ruth,
just?
would they? Well, it depends who got the job, wouldn't it? If they've been separately quoted, I want to say perhaps if one tree surgeon were going to take the big one out on the gill side, it might want to do with a lot,
I've got at the moment the quotes I've got them to do was on separate pieces
Yeah.
of work. So I've got on a quote they've said how much it is to do the 13 trees at the bottom on one allotment, how much it is to do the trees on the side where they'd have to get permission. So I have got them divided up so that you could choose. If you'd said, look, we just want to do this, it's just that if you decide what you want to do or interested in doing is the bit again the gill, because one person wouldn't quote for that work, I need to get another one on that. If you've never been interested in the gill work and you're only interested in the ones at the bottom on the other allotment, I wouldn't have needed to get another one because I've got.
And where's this 1 tree that we think we might cut down now?
Well, we're wasting our time with 1 tree.
I think
Well,
think so.
it's 1 tree and some thinning, so it's the bit down the back, it's 1 tree to come out and 4 to be thinned.
Right.
Yeah.
and some ivy to come out.
Well, we need to have a logical process of
We
what's
do- we
going on. We
do.
need to have the evidence of what we've got to do.
Yeah.
Because it seems as though we've got a lot of trees that we're going to be cutting down. We might be cutting more
We,
down than
we,
we've got.
we almost need a diagram, don't we, for us
Yeah, we need to know what it's
people
about,
none.
This,
so we can have evidence of what we're doing.
yeah, I think you'll have.
Well, yeah,
Pla-
because we can give
plans.
you the next meeting the work that was done showing where the 13 trees are, and it's relatively easy for me to put in approximate places for the other 5 that might want some work on down the back. And then if you want me to get another quote down the back, so then you've got 3 quotes for the work down the back and determining the work at the bottom, then you can
Well, that
decide
seems
if you still
logical
want
to me, doesn't it?
prioritise
Yeah.
it in any order or what you want to do. then.
Cover it all in one go. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't get the quotes.
So
Then we can make a choice.
Yeah.
just a simple report for next time,
Yeah.
exactly where they are,
Well,
what the
the layout,
quotes
we can see
are.
which trees are what, can't we?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I raise another legal issue?
Please do.
Well, it's already been mentioned, John's already mentioned it. On the site, apart from the walls of the site and the back and the security fence, every path belongs, is the duty of the tenant adjacent. And we've always on Beckley worked on the principle that you do the half path that's alongside your plot. That's the in the practice. This means that we've currently got 3 plots that the paths, because the tenant, because they're either not tenanted or because of the tenant being ill, those paths are not being done. Now, I have been doing the path to the side gate, which is the tenant that's unwell. I've been strimming that because we can't have tenants coming in and breaking their neck. It is the tenant's responsibility, but safety comes first. Of course, the plot with the derelict building, of course, has to be, again, by the other gate. And again, I've been strimming that, and we do have volunteer mowers. The one that I'd like to raise, if the meeting goes ahead with not clearing plot 23, which is the one right down by the security fence, which, as I say, is just a weed. Yes, that one is quite difficult because there's a fair drop down, so that the path runs along. It's almost horizontal, not quite, but there's quite a significant drop down.
Yeah, it is.
And in all the years that since the town council took over, to be honest, the years before then, when we were under Bradford, that path has not been maintained, and it's downright dangerous because you've got to know where to put your feet because you can't see where you're putting your feet, and if that plot is not let, it is the town council's responsibility to ensure that that path is safe. And at the moment it's not. I don't mind sticking my neck out and strimming the bits by the other 2 plots because that's not a major thing. But plot 23 is an awful lot of work, even just to keep that edge safe.
That's the bit I was saying we needed trimming. That's what I was saying. It needs that needs trimming to identify the edge where
Yes.
it drops down.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
And
that
that's
can
what
be,
we're going to do.
that can be part. Yeah. That's
Yes.
what's recommended and being accepted. Yeah. Along with trimming plot 20. No, 27.
Yeah.
The one with the building. Yeah.
27, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like it on record that I am completely against leaving. We have got, it is not a joke term, we
No,
have
it's-
injurious weeds growing on there. The 2 docks, we've got thistle, we've got ragwort, we've got other things, and it's for me, it's just a disaster. And I don't see why the tenants should have to put up with all the weed seeds blowing across.
Right.
They're not wildflowers.
No, not wildflowers. No, it's a wild area.
It's a wild area.
This is yeah.
But it's not an environmental environmental benefit to us.
Not at this time, but it could be. But we would suggest improvement to it. But that's the initial our initial recommendation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Okay. I think
Yeah.
we've. Anything else in the bottom?
So has anything been agreed to progress this tree situation then? Has it been minuted that we're going to look into it and look at it at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I
That's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we, Eve? Have we voted on everything we need to vote on that?
Well, we're
Thank
clear,
you.
are we? Good.
Good. All right. So we'll come back to where we were on the agenda. Back to the normal agenda. 22, 23, 28 community gift card.
Okay, so I have resubmitted the business case but anonymised it a little to so it can be discussed in public. So there's not a huge amount of change there. I think I highlighted one. Yeah. So the additional document that has been made available was to answer questions around appetite in the town for the community gift card. Quite rightly, the idea had received some scrutiny in the previous iteration of this meeting. I believe that I've answered most of, if not all of those questions via email. So for the benefit of the tape, yes, this will include Bingley Parish, not just Central Bingley. There is a ring fencing of funds that are put in, so if the company were to go bust, people would get their money back. So, Robert, if you had £100 on a gift card and then the company in question went bust, you would receive your £100 back, for example. In terms of the support from the Chamber of Trade, it was good news and bad news from my point of view. So it was confirmed that the Chamber is supportive of it. It was also confirmed that they would not be willing to be the contract holder, which is disappointing, but I can completely understand that. And in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily materially impact what we need to do here, because we just need either 3 distinct contracts with the supplier or one leading sort of light of the 3 town councils, which I think could be us, to be the contract holder. We have contracts with the constituent towns to make sure that things are paid, and then we do the interfacing with the business in question.
So it's all covered.
That's the short version of it. So I feel that I've covered most of those questions. Regarding the appetite, I did a social media survey in addition to just going in and asking people. Businesses tended, when I asked them face to face, to take the view of, well, it's not going to cost me anything and there's a potential for it giving me more business, even if it's marginal. Why would I say no to that? Which is a fair enough stance to take. I shared the exact framing of the question and allowed people to comment and add answers as they so chose. The 4 options that were initially submitted were: as a consumer, this is a great idea; as a consumer, this idea could be better, elaborate in the comments; as a business owner, this is a great idea; as a business owner, this could be better, elaborate in the comments; and then a resident added: as a consumer, I would not be interested. So overall, 85% of the responses were this is a great idea, split between consumer and business. 7% were business owners, 78% were consumers. There were 13% people saying that they wouldn't be interested. So all in all, I don't think that's too shabby. I've included some of the suggestions that were made by residents. I think it's a good thing that the visibility of this post across the various mediums that I shared it had between 3,000 and 3,500 users view it, so that means that it's quite visible across the town actually as an idea now. I would argue that a seed has been planted, and the response shows me, or indicates to me, that a lot of people would quite like to see that seed germinate. The analogy's got away from me. But yeah.
The allotment discussion.
Yeah, the allotment discussion got in my head.
So how are you seeing the 3 separate councils? Because if we do it as an individual council, it'll cost us £9,000.
Yeah.
So if you get 3 individual contracts, it'll be £9,000 to each council.
So it's £3,000 a year, but if you want to say £9,000 over 3 years, then it makes no.
So it's £3,000 per individual council.
Yes. So it's basically 9,000.
So it's not
and odd.
it's not 9,000 a year for a council.
It's 3.
It's only 3.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. It's if we have one common gift card, it's 3. If each council had their own gift card, it will be 9,000 each, wouldn't it?
Well, have you? Sorry,
£9,000 each.
If they had their own gift card, yeah. If we have I think what Lewis has put forward is a Bingley, Belden and Shipley gift card. So collectively, we pay a third of the cost because it's a common card.
Which is collectively is nice. Got to be £3,000 each.
Yeah,
£3,000 a
So
year.
it's
for 3
£9,000.
years.
If we took it on our own,
it'd be £9,000.
it'd be £9,000. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have 3 separate contracts, then that would mean it's £9,000 per contract for Bingley, Belden, and Shipley.
Not if we had subcontracts, because effectively what Lewis first put forward, Chamber of Trade would hold the overarching contract and then have contracts with.
Well, they don't want to do that.
I know they don't want to do that, but one of the 3 could hold the main contract and subcontract for the other 2.
That's easy with councils. How does that suit Eve, with councils working together on something when it comes to financial implications? Because some person has to hold the contract, don't they? There's 3 councils and one takes the contract.
I think that's what Lewis is suggesting, that Bingley take the contract.
Yeah. So
So
from
the council
We would effectively be liable.
But can it be
I
done?
would
Can that
say.
be done? Is that feasible?
I
What happens if the others?
can look into it, but I don't see why not.
No, but what happens if the others bail out? You don't bail us, it's not really worth it. We've had enough. We're not going to carry on.
Well, that's what you consider with the risk and resource, isn't it? You'd have to have all those questions in the risk and resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to carry on from what Mark said, we have all the 3 council on that contract.
Well,
Yeah,
taking
but
the
if
liability
it-
of that 9,000.
It's a 3-year contract. I think this is the broader issue, isn't it? If it's a 3-year contract and after year 1, the other 2 councils decide it's not worked for them, so they want to back out. Well, it might not work for everyone. It might work well for all of us.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
But if we're the main signatories, we'd be
We'd be
liable.
responsible.
We'd be
Yeah,
liable for the
yeah.
cost.
Then we would be ridiculed by the
It is a
town.
winner.
Throwing money away.
So yeah, to give you more precise figures, it's £3,316.67 per year per council. So that'd give you a total of basically 10 grand. So what I'm suggesting is that one body takes the ownership. And to answer your question, Mark, Joe Wheatley has talked to the YLCA about the idea of subcontracting, or he says he hasn't. So, and he says that is possible. I did try and get in touch, but my efforts at contact didn't.
Have we had any debate with the other 2 councils?
No.
We sat here in oblivion. We're assuming they want to go ahead with it, but we need to sit and talk to them physically, don't we? We need to meet whoever their representative is to say, are they happy to go ahead with it?
Yeah, but this is. So
You can't do it
this
in
is,
isolation. You've got to do
no,
it.
I totally
but
agree. But this is a chicken and egg situation.
If in principle we don't agree with it, then we wouldn't engage with other councils. If we do agree with it, then that would be the next.
Yeah, but the first thing is to feel, are they actually interested in doing it? Because I might say, we're not really bothered with it, but floated the idea.
My greatest concern has arisen tonight, and that is that if we take on this and then there's any hiccups, we're going to be responsible.
Of course we are.
For £9,000 for 3 years.
Per
And
year.
that is per year.
Yeah.
Or 10,000 in fact.
Yeah, 10.
And so that is that is a real concern.
Yeah, you're right off, isn't it?
So, how can you guarantee that the other two are gonna? I mean, they're in a position. If we're the main, I'm not saying they're going to do this,
No.
but if we're the main contractor and they just pull out, we're the contractor and we're going to have to fulfil that contract. As I see it,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's my concern.
Yeah, that's fair, but it's not uncommon to insert penalty clauses in contracts, is it? So we can just insert a penalty clause, and then if the other councils don't sign it, then we don't sign ours.
Well, that answers a question. That's fair enough.
We can opt out.
So for this
But
project to
they'd
go
have
ahead,
to, obviously they'd obviously have to agree to that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But that would be an answer to guarantee that we weren't responsible for the 3 years for the full amount.
Yeah.
And that's my concern.
so
Yeah, that's fair.
so Louis, you know, I mean, my concern, I'm, you know, I mean, obviously the scheme is good, and I mean, I'm not saying, but I just want a bit of clarification. So, in a way, what Mark said, you know, I mean, it's the other two councils. Obviously, you need to speak to them, don't you?
Yeah.
So obviously, if they don't get on board with us, so in a way, the project won't go ahead, is it? Or do we?
No, you're absolutely right.
No, that's-
So if all three councils aren't stepping in the same direction,
Yeah.
this doesn't happen.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what.
there'll be the paperwork to go with it before anybody commits themselves to anything.
Yeah.
Of course, and sounds like I'm arguing
That's it.
against
Yeah,
my own
yeah,
idea at this
yeah.
point. The logistics of having a tri-council initiative wouldn't be easy to manage. However, personally, I think it's worth it. In terms of, I think Mark and you, Ashraf, have kind of raised a similar point in that. But someone's got to go first. Someone's got to either commit to, this is a good idea, come on this journey with us, or say, no, it's not for us, and then we don't need to pursue it further. So I'm keen for Bingley to be the prime mover in this. We can either go forward and say, this is something we're interested in, and then at that point we can invite and initiate the discussion from Shipley and from Baildon. The noises there have been positive, but I think that in a similar way to how that conversation began, there's a reticence to be the first one to move. I don't think it's a bad thing to be the first one to move, to be seen as the leaders in something like this. I think that it's a positive thing, even from just a perception point of view, to be the initiators and the people that are driving this through. So if we were to say, okay, this is something we're interested in, we can put it to full council, and if they agree with it, then we can try and have those meetings with the representatives from Shipley and from Baildon, and then we can evaluate how we draw up the contract and how we move forward.
I don't think they'll refuse you. I think they'll be glad to join.
Well, we don't know,
We don't know, do we? Need to.
Mustn't take it for granted, though.
To make progress now, I'm going to propose that we recommend this to full council, just to recommend it to full council and see what Bingley Town Council as a whole feel about this. So I'm happy to, on that basis, I'm happy to.
And what do we want, Lewis? I get your proposal.
Um,
What do we want to present to them?
So what I could do is I could present this for public consumption and then the unredacted version for private. I would make an amendment to the diagram, because the diagram has Bingley Chamber of Trade as the contract holder with the three subcontractors. So I'd make that amendment, but other than that amendment, I wouldn't be making any changes. Happy to circulate it with you people first. You can ratify that I've not made any unsolicited changes. At that point, we would send a public and a private version. The private version would have the company name on and all that sort of gubbins, and the public one wouldn't. And that way we can discuss it in a public forum.
Right.
Of the analysis that you've done of the retailers in Bingley and surrounding area, how many have you actually spoken to in relationship to what's because do they understand? Is there any implications for them?
No.
I've got a card and I go into the shop to spend it. How do I spend it?
So that's a relationship between it's like the last one where I'm trying not to say the wrong thing. The supplier and the company would need to sort of interface.
So there will be a costing for the firm.
No. So that is the company that would be sort of absorbing that cost, and they'd be engaging.
So the card supplier.
As I understand it, the card supplier does the communication with the retailer.
Yeah.
The retailer has to say that they want to get on board, and then
And there's no cost to the retailer.
not as far as I know. No. And going way back when this were first mooted at the Bingley Chamber of Trade, yes, everybody put their hand up because it ain't going to cost them no.
No, well, that's what they will do.
And it's a possibility that it's going to be an advantage.
That will bring some
Yeah.
additional cost.
So anyway, so the proposal is to take the idea of the gift tax
Just the idea.
back to full council.
and see what Bingley Town Council as a council
Consider
think,
it to be.
because there's no point in going any farther if that ain't going to, if
No,
it's
if it's
going
gonna
to get voted out.
No, it's going to
Completely agree.
run.
Yeah.
Would agree with you.
You're proposing that?
I am.
Yeah.
Lewis is seconding that. All in favour?
And in the meantime, if you can also consult with Shipley and
Yeah.
Bailey, I think that needs to, before you get to the full council, I think that'd be,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
what do you
Doesn't
think?
do any harm. I'll go talk to them, does it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Other than, you know,
I think
spending more time.
taking their temperature for full council,
Yeah.
I
It's
think
always
will
useful.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The indications are positive, but I've
Okay.
not had the conversation
Yeah, I think we need to
myself.
do that, yeah.
But I will.
That's-
Yeah, it's good feedback. Thank
Right,
you.
all in favour?
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead with it.
Okay.
Just to move it on that.
No, you're right, John. It's been hanging around.
Yeah.
So moving on to 22, 23, 29. To receive and approve the bank reconciliation for June. Anybody got any?
I think they're all okay, aren't they? No particular issues from my point of view on any of them. Do we have to vote them individually?
Yeah, we do.
Well,
Johnny, you alright? With the bank reconciliation?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll propose
I'll second. I'll go.
Don't worry.
All in favour.
everyone in favour, okay. So bank reconciliation, the
Statement.
bank statement,
Second.
yeah. I'm not sure who proposed or seconded that, but
Well, I'll propose.
everybody's in favour.
Yeah, I'll second
Mark,
it.
right, okay, all in favour. The bank balances to date, Eve, are they these or have we got some more up to date ones?
I haven't actually checked it today, but I can put it on the minutes. I want me to check now.
Yeah, if you just want to check whilst we're going. And then the fourth one is the budget monitor for quarter 1, which I think we need to have a quick look at.
Yeah. That's this.
Because for me, this document it is at the end of quarter 1, so we should be looking at, for things that are spread evenly across the year, 25% spent already. There are some variations around this. Eve, we've got £13,000 of grants and donations. Do you know where they?
That have gone out or that have...
They've
Come
come
and gone
in.
out. No, they've gone out though, haven't
Has that gone out or has that come in?
they?
I
No,
thought
the
line 13
variation
was in, wasn't it not?
It's negative, isn't it?
It's precept and whatever. So
Which item were you looking at, John?
Are you looking at 1300?
1300.
Were you looking at a different one?
No, no, the variance is
13,075.
the.
Okay.
So we've received income of £13,000. Is that like the 4,000 for Cottingley Christmas lights and?
I'm trying to work out what that is.
Well, it's gone out, hasn't it?
No, it's come in.
No, that's...
Gone out. If you look at the brackets at the other side, the variance, isn't it? Or is he taking it as a positive?
It's taken it as a positive because
Yeah, 'cause
we
spend
didn't
the zero.
expect anything and we've got
Right, okay,
£13,000.
so that's above our...
Is it still money then?
What it is.
I wouldn't have thought so.
I'll have to check on that.
It just seems quite large.
Yeah, I'll check. Just to go back to the bank balance, so the bank balance at Unity Bank is £201,000, 201,863 and 21p. And the public sector deposit fund is 143,334 and no p.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I'll check on that, check on grants.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, for me, I know we've got payroll provider later on, because staff salary, PAYE and pension all seem remarkably different. So like one's 15% of the budget, one's 85% of the budget, and one's 40% of the budget, which just seems all over the place to me.
That's because, as you know from when you were internal controls, the payroll we pay in advance. We pay 3 months in advance. So we've paid.
For the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's salaries come out at 15%, so it just looks wrong. But I would have expected that to be higher. So we seem to have paid almost a year's worth of PAYE and national insurance, but
I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check on that as well.
Quite the ringtone.
That could be the payroll.
then the next one that looked a bit high to me was 4215, the newsletter, publicity and adverts, where we spent 60% of the budget. I know we've done the annual report, but does that just mean that print costs have gone up enormously? That we need to be mindful of going forward?
I think that it had increased.
It's also a slightly longer newsletter than normal. Not that that's a bad thing, but maybe that contributes to the cost.
Yeah, I think the annual report is a larger newsletter than the next newsletter. There's only one more newsletter.
Yeah.
So about 60% seems about right.
Maybe, yeah, depends on how much printing costs will have gone up by the next newsletter, but that just is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it goes up then.
I think. Okay, so coming on to the second page, I suspect this one's to do with building being run into. So 4450, repairs and maintenance. We had a budget of 1,500 and we spent 10,000.
Oh, it's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Is that with us?
I think that's the insurance, that's been covered by the insurance, and it's just occurred to me that maybe that's where the grant was coming.
So the insurance
that might be
paying
the insurance
us.
payout, because that's a very familiar figure.
Yeah.
But obviously I'll check.
All right, okay.
Yeah. And,
So they want reallocating.
and the more I look at that repair, the more unbelievably ridiculous that amount is.
Yeah.
It's high. Yeah.
It may be that they need moving about in the budget so that it makes more sense, because that's quite misleading, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah. And then the only other thing I really noted is some of our other more running budgets. So regeneration and tourism, we haven't spent much. So any projects in that area that need to come forward, please bring them forward.
Community gift card.
And at the moment, green and clean, John. I assume.
Well, you see, you've got contracts. You've got contracts that's going to come to.
Out yet, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Nothing's been
Nothing's
charged
come out yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else had anything they wanted to bring up on. They're more queries than anything else, and just things for us to note going forward.
If you look at the column, just to go back to that green and clean, if you look at the column that we haven't populated it yet, committed expenditure.
Yeah.
We discussed that when we had Realtas training, myself and Nicola last week. So the next time you get this quarter budgeting report,
We'll have the
populate that.
commitments
so we
in
can
there.
show how much we've committed to green and clean, even though we haven't spent it yet.
Yeah.
That makes more sense then, doesn't it?
It does.
Otherwise
It does, yeah.
I think you've got loads of money, but you haven't.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
Because I actually asked Nicola Eve to send me those two contracts, and there's quite a lump. Is the watering and the other contract.
It's like the stuff for the Christmas, isn't it? That'll be committed before being spent. Hopefully after the next full council meeting. That's another one.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have any
I think
queries?
it's what's really reconciling, doesn't it?
Queries to raise? Otherwise,
only that in annual report it says that that Cottingley got a £200 grant from Bingley Town Council, but they didn't. It came from Bingley Rural Councillors. But anyway, that's another story.
All right.
But money might have come through here, I can't remember.
It did.
Okay.
It did, because it was like looking for a needle in a haystack trying to work out where that would come from.
Right, okay. Ask John. Well spent. We invested even more than that in it, so we have a result. Okay.
Okay, so to approve the budget monitor, I'll propose it. Lewis is seconding. All in favour?
Yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah. Not sure about that last bit. Okay.
So moving on then, 22, 23, 30 speed indicator devices. Ashraf.
Shall I say, Eve, or you've got some communication, haven't you? Just to give you an update, obviously, from the last meeting on the speed indicator devices, we said that we were going to go back to Simon de Valley and get an up-to-date price, because obviously when this project was initially done, that was done pre-COVID and etc. And I think when we initially budgeted 3,600 for annual maintenance, we were expecting the council to provide the monitors, and plus the maintenance as well. But Simon de Valley and Craig Williamson say the council won't be able to do it. I think they're slightly overstretched, and they were looking at either a proposal where they've done it in Keighley Town Council, where they've trained, either volunteers or councillors. They were going to organise a date with us if we were happy to go ahead with that route. Or I was thinking there's a second, obviously, route, because in terms of the budget, I think it's gone up now it still covers it with that 10,500 budget.
Yeah.
But now, because it was £2,732.14, I don't know if you've seen the quote on the...
An alternative.
Yeah, plus 20%, that comes to £3,278.57.
Yeah.
So if you times it by 3, you get about £9,835.71. And we've got 10,500, which was allocated budget. But obviously, we avoid paying that 3,600, the maintenance, from that. And the other option that we could look at, I think today's meeting, I think is important as well. We can also look at if we don't get enough volunteers or people willing to go ahead, maybe through health and safety, I think a few other things, or any kind of issues. They're saying it's a fairly straightforward, that there's a couple of people you need a ladder, you need a few cones, and somebody needs to go up there and this and that. But obviously, if we go through that route, we still have to have a liability insurance. Just to cover ourselves.
It's a
public liability, that's correct.
Yeah,
we've got that.
Council's covered for that.
Yeah, council's covered for that. So that's one option. Otherwise, we may look at the possibility of the other one. I don't know, any third party doing this maintenance apart from the council. Apart from the council. So I was thinking these are the two options that we thought will bring to...
Yeah, it occurred to me, could we go out and procure both the devices and a maintenance contract from someone directly? I mean, are we getting a good deal out of Bradford here for the actual devices?
The thing is, this device is approved by Bradford Council.
And
if we go through some other company, he has to go through the Bradford Council's procedure.
I don't feel comfortable about councillors climbing up ladders next to roads once a fortnight to swap batteries.
I think you should get a contractor to do it without. And then he's covered. I think that's what we should do. Whether we buy the unit and they install it for us and then maintain it, that'll be probably the better route to go.
I would have thought a contractor would prefer that rather than just.
My opinion is exactly what I felt. I think I don't feel that we as council should take that. In terms of the health and safety. I know, it might be an easy thing to do, but I think it's probably
those days of us all volunteering have long gone.
Exactly.
It's not something that
I think we should look at
volunteers are getting less and less.
I think we need to look at if we can find a third party who can do the maintenance. I think at the moment it's a company called Mali Tile Limited, who are approved by the council. It's called Mali Tile Limited, and if we can contact them, I don't know if they've got
You've sent this out before.
We did,
I've
we did.
read all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them, I'd go ahead and pursue it down their avenue.
Yeah.
And then we said, well,
Get-
how
get-
many we're going to
yeah,
buy?
yeah,
Two?
go.
Three, we were
Three,
looking
oh,
at
three,
We were
alright.
looking at 3 seats. So across Bingley and
Yeah,
Bingley,
yeah.
you know,
Well,
areas.
and presumably we can move them as we
That's
wish.
correct, yeah.
But it's not just about the purchase of them. If they need to be monitored every 2 weeks, say,
Yeah.
then we need to find out the cost of what
We do.
its company would be.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a total costing, implication, yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of three, we might have to get two
Well,
to cover it with the other cost.
Yes,
that's
yes.
That's a compromise,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
well,
with
We
that.
need to find out how much it would
With
be.
the that's correct, yeah.
The trouble is as well, because you're not going to know, depending where you place them, you're not going to know the traffic volume there. You're not going to know how often they need monitoring and changing. And
Well,
until
I'm
they're in
suspecting
place.
we're not going to have them on roads with low traffic volume.
Yeah.
are we?
So they are
No,
going to need
they are.
batteries changing quite often, aren't they?
Not really. What it is, sorry, John, you say, yeah.
I was going to say that from day one there's been two recommended sites to start,
That's correct.
and one was by
The
Beckfoot School and the other one was Cottingley Moor Road.
You know, the
There is
school
a
down
Beckfoot school, isn't there? There is one there.
No.
There is one.
There's a 20 mile a time.
No, that's comes on and says it's 20 mile an hour when
Oh, school
When the
time.
school-
when
That's right.
when these lights are flashing.
Oh, right,
That's
okay.
right.
But if the other traffic scheme that Bradford had consulted on around
That's true.
Beckfoot
Yes,
School
that's true.
comes to fruition, presumably we wouldn't necessarily want one there
Well,
anymore.
possibly not. No.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
I thought of that when that came came on the scene. Because it involves all Wagon Lane and that. But you know how long it takes to. How long this? It could have been in operation for 3 years. Could this if we did?
We could
It
have
was
done
just-
it.
Well, COVID
So-
just stopped it, didn't it?
So then again, to move progress, could I recommend that we get in touch, Eve gets in touch, or staff gets in touch with and gets a quote on the maintenance element of this operation.
And what do we do if this company just supplies?
Pardon?
What do we do if this company is just a supplier of the kit?
I thought I thought they were the recommended
No,
maintenance
they were there
people.
for the equipment.
All right, okay. Oh, yeah, right.
So we
So
haven't
It's
asked
likely
them.
that they would know who
Someone
the
else.
kit maintenance people
They would
are.
probably most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to follow it through, don't we?
We need
We need to follow through.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is someone who will maintain this and or maintain and supply.
I misunderstood there because I thought when I'd read
Yeah.
something that it said.
Initially it was going to be the council.
Yes, I appreciate
That's right,
all
you know
that
what I'm saying, yeah.
and this training. I thought it said somebody they recommended or gave the name of somebody who.
They're the suppliers of the kit. Just
They're
to
the
Oh,
suppliers,
right,
that's
well,
been
that's
approved by
fine.
the
Yeah,
Bradford
by
Council.
Bradford.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Bradford's suggestion was to have volunteers doing it.
Yeah.
Because when we spoke to Simon, he didn't
was.
recommend any.
He didn't, yeah.
Ah, right. Apologies for that. Oh well, I'll withdraw
He was saying that is a kind of a straightforward thing, and it's easier to monitor. You know, when the battery you can recharge them again, and it's the battery goes on. It depends on how much traffic flow goes
Yeah,
up
yeah,
and how many
yeah.
people go
How
over that
much
speed limit.
flashes
Yeah, that's
off and on,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's a fairly lot. It goes on for a while, I think. You know, I mean, it's not as bad. You know, I mean, you know, when you change that and the data information. Initially, we could even check it, but Bradford Council said that information would be stored in that, and that they can pass that information on to Bingley Town Council. So even if we find a supply or another who does the installation, that they can keep that information, I think.
Trouble is, if we don't get one from that Bradford recommend, and we
Yeah.
put some up ourselves,
Yeah.
then you'll get blanked by Bradford,
We'd have
and
to
you'll
get
have all
permission
sorts of
from
trouble.
them to put it up, wouldn't we? We would have to get permission from them to put
Yeah.
it up anyway.
And then you'll get all objections under the sun from them.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the least line of resistance is to do what they
Yeah,
recommended.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're recommending we all climb up ladders, and
No, we
that's
don't.
No, but I
But
mean,
surely
but-
it's just in the procurement
Just for
that
the
we need to follow
supplier.
their recommendation, not necessarily in the maintenance
No, no.
contract.
Not
I wouldn't
meant
have
to-
thought.
No, no.
I
So-
mean,
so
we can try it.
we're recommending that the clerk investigates
Yeah.
a maintenance contract.
So how
Which is
often
a
do you have to go and maintain the unit, or go to? Is it just a battery changing the battery?
That's right. That's all it
It
is.
depends on how busy the road is.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
realise
it is,
that.
yeah. But they have two batteries. Yeah, yeah. You know, I mean,
Well,
it's
well this
charged.
this says on a busy road it could be every fortnight.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, initially when I read it, it goes on, you know, I mean, as you say, it depends on how many people go over the speed limit, really.
You'd find that in a month, wouldn't you?
Yeah, in a month, I mean.
You know, if you checked it once a week or something like that, and then for the first month or two, you'd get an idea what volume of traffic we're using that.
So it'll tell you the number of vehicles that's gone through and the speed.
If it goes above that speed and this and that, and he'll calculate it and he'll record it and
you get
keep that data.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
one
if
thing.
it needed changing, if the battery needed changing every 2 weeks because it was a busy road, I think there was an email that mentioned a busy road in Kingsborough that changed every 2 weeks. That's a big ask for a volunteer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or even for a group of volunteers.
Yeah, it is.
Apart from the climbing ladders situation.
Well, putting cones out, buying a ladder,
Yeah.
climbing a ladder.
The last time I climbed a ladder in public, it disintegrated beneath me.
Anyway,
So, are we?
we can go the first phases. Let's see about getting the unit.
Yeah.
And then we can look about
Bring back.
installing it and the challenge of maintenance.
Well, we can't get the unit unless we've sorted out
The,
the challenge of maintenance, can we?
I think we need to find out the
We'll do
maintenance.
it.
I think that's important as well, yeah. And I think if they can give us an option, you know, the council, I know they've given one option using volunteers. Have they got a second option that we find another contractor? You know what I mean? I think
Well, they must do it anyway because there's one up Park Road, the top of Park Road, as you come down. And that flashes away merrily on when you go down.
Well, they'll do that one probably because it's theirs. So they
Yeah.
probably have the manpower or
But-
you know.
But I
capacity
think
to do
I
that
went
one.
to a meeting where they said that they've had some that have been out of action for like the one at their first end of Cross Flats. They've been out of action for about 2 years because they haven't had the manpower to go and fix them.
Is
And
it
they
the
haven't got-
manpower or the will?
Well, they say it's the manpower, which is why they can't do it now. So the recommendation is Clark investigates a maintenance contract.
The one up Park Road might be done by volunteers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We said agree recommendations to full council, so that's our recommendation to full council that we investigate a maintenance
Yeah.
contract to see the
Fine.
feasibility. Yeah, all in favour?
yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I proposed that. Not
Oh,
sure
yeah.
who seconded
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, well, anyway, yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so we'll move on swiftly. 22, 23, 31 policies to review and approve the policies. Well, recommend approval to full council. So the first one is the asset policy. Did anybody have any comments on that one? If not, I suppose we accept.
Second.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Then the councillor expenses policy.
Yeah, seems all right.
I'll tell you what's interesting about that.
Yeah.
It's 45 pence a mile for mileage,
Yeah.
and it's been 45 pence a mile since 2010, and it's still 45 pence a mile.
This
Get
is
on to
true.
HMRC.
Eh?
Get on to HMRC.
No, I'm just saying
No, you're
that's
right.
interesting because I looked on 2022 to see what it was, and it's still 45 pence.
And if you do over 10,000, it drops to 25.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means, John? That means you should make sure you get your 3 reams of paper so you can get some back.
Except I don't use the paper, you see, so
So did we have a proposal
so
for council?
consequently I don't
Yeah,
use
yeah.
printing
John
card.
proposed,
Yeah.
Lewis second, all in favour of
You don't
council
want to increase
expenses
it, do you?
policy. Yeah.
For 40 pence, 45 pence.
Okay, financial risk assessment policy.
Yeah.
This is the one, Eve, where we had a quick discussion about it the other night because it starts with cash handling and it says we don't have cash, so we need a paragraph in there about the toilet cash.
I suppose it says we don't handle cash on a daily basis, which is strict.
Yeah, but then it says everything else is via
Yeah.
cheque, so we just need a couple of lines in there, I think, about the
cash.
toilet cash is collected and then banked.
So just amend that.
Yeah.
There has been a policy actually on that somewhere in the dim and distant past, but
It's included in all the internal controls checks, isn't
that's
it? Maybe
yeah,
that's why you've seen it.
Well, it must be, yeah.
So we can just pull it from there, can't we?
Yeah.
So as long as we cover off the toilet cash in that,
Yeah.
with that amendment, I propose we accept it.
Right.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favour?
All in
Yeah.
favour.
The investment strategy.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. John proposes.
I am.
Lewis seconds.
Second,
All in
Lewis,
favour?
yeah.
Yeah. And the Vexatious complaints policy. Now this one has never been formally adopted before, but it cropped up when we went through the F&GP terms of reference, because it's in there that
Right.
we will maintain this. So has anybody got any comments on it, or do we just
No, read
recommend it?
Read it and I recommend it.
Yeah, proposed by John, seconded Mark, everyone in favour? Okay, that's that one done. So moving on to the next agenda item, 22, 23, 32, to consider Bingley's involvement in the Bradford City of Culture 2025.
Yeah, so I jammed this into the agenda. Obviously we've got 2025, that's great news for Bradford. The risk is that we don't get a slice of that particular pie, and it's all Bradford, sort of inner Bradford, that receives the benefit. As we've seen with the levelling up proposal, which I don't think has seen the light of day yet, there is potential for us to get some benefit out of this, even if that notional perfunctory sort of bid was put together with low expectations of success. That could potentially be recycled, and we could try and sort of appeal to Bradford to get a piece of that pie. And the earlier that we begin that campaign, the better.
Is this something the EMAC could do and talk to Bradford's? Presumably they've got a committee for the city of culture to talk to them.
Well, a little theatre and get some any projects they got on.
Yeah, but there's what we could do is
Should we engage with Bradford? That's a real essence of it.
that's the point I'm making.
I think before we get to EMAC though, because I know Mark, you said this to me a while ago and it was a good idea. Do we write to Bradford as Bingley Town Council now saying
Congratulations, well done.
congratulations, you've got it now. How can we get involved?
This is the question I was going to ask: is who's making the decisions? I.e., what's going to happen in Bingley?
Well,
is it
Bradford.
just? Is it? Yeah, but I mean, are they just going to say this is going to happen in Bingley and you don't have any say of it, or?
Well, that's why
Well,
we
I
need to get in
think
early.
we need to get in now to try and ensure
and ask them what they have in mind, and then we might agree or disagree.
There might be something coming our way. We might be able to influence more than what they're going to give us.
Because certainly in their bid, they didn't really have a lot about Bingley in it at all.
They missed us out. They've gone to Shipley and then Keighley. They don't know where Bingley is. No, they don't.
Can I propose that we have Mark's letter?
Yep. Yeah. that we write and congratulate and ask them.
Do we write to Si Cunningham, because he came to one of the full council meeting and talked about the,
We can find out who. I'll contact Marcia Church.
Or will she know?
I know that they are actually just recruiting some people to be the marketing people for the City of Culture.
They will have a strategy. We
So we need to be involved.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need to
they
be
might have
involved
stuff.
there.
But I think we probably are sending it to Susan Hinchcliffe, Kirsten England, the guy who came to talk to us about it, whoever else is the major names on the bid, aren't we?
Yeah.
To say we are keen to be involved
Fantastic,
and to have
we're keen to
events
be
in
involved.
Bingley.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of leading it with congratulations.
Yes.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, so
That's a good thing.
you want a proposal for that? Are you proposed
Yeah.
it? Is it being carried?
I think you've just proposed it.
I have.
We're all in favour.
We're all in favour.
Next one's me as well. So the pushback that we got on the budget uplift, we're still feeling the consequences with residents contacting us. I have, a large part of why I wanted to join this committee actually was I really felt for you, John, in the meeting, because you advocated really strongly for a 53% uplift, and all of your arguments for it I completely and totally sympathised with. However, one of the things that I believe has led to that is that we haven't had a multi-year strategy, so that it's been fairly flat and then a big jump, and that big jump is obviously going to feel all the bigger if there's been no or negligible incremental increases up until that point. Now, I know that there's a thing that means that you can't necessarily bind a future council to a previous council's decisions, but what we could do is we could effectively create a wireframe, a sketch as to here's what it could look like and this is what it in broad strokes we could deliver as a hypothetical. It doesn't need to be an onerous piece of work. It's very much a case of here's option A, here's option B, here's option C. By 2026, the precept could be X for a Band D house, which would facilitate these options. I'm looking at time, so I'm trying to be quick, but that's the idea behind it. So what do we think of
I
that?
think what skewed this particular one was the changing places with those extra costs.
How does this link? You used to have things like a grant strategy. People can apply for grants.
We can.
We still have.
And they still do it. They can have. What's the latest on that? Have we had any activity?
I don't know. It's a good
Well, we've got a grant
We've got an
application next.
application later on.
We've got that further,
Grant application from.
But-
that's further down.
That's further down.
But I mean, on this, the multi-year project stroke budget, I think if we had a simple spreadsheet that just showed us, because I'm aware we had the discussion this time around what are our contractual commitments. You know, we've got a 3-year flower contract. We've got, and it's not always easily visible, I think, in people's heads when they just look at the budget lines as to what we as a group have committed to do. And if we had something like that we could look at and add to, because it is a thing like SIDS. If we have SIDS, we're going to want a maintenance contract for
this
X years.
This is what I've been saying. This is what I've been banging away at from day one. We keep committing ourselves to
More expenditure.
regular expenditure, i.e. maintenance. You know that is going to increase, Lewis, purely political. That's why it's been kept low, right?
But do we think having that
It's not a bad idea to know what your fixed costs are
going
and then
forward?
extrapolate it out going forward. You might be wrong in your projections, but what the hell, you know? It's running at 9%, so you put 9% in or 10%. When you know what your fixed costs are going to be, then you've got your variables, which you obviously you've got to work around them, and then that's what will govern you what you're going to be actually faced with. And some of your fixed costs might not be fixed, and they'll be a bit lower.
Sorry.
I'm just going to say, and how are we going to achieve this? I mean, you know.
Simple, you can pull out of there your fixed costs,
Right. Okay.
which we've got maintenance and commitments on that we know we're going to be fixed. Same with salaries, you've got the salaries fixed.
Yeah. This is another thing.
So you've got to put them into
keep
the
committing
mix what you
committing
fix.
ourselves to increased expenditure.
I mean, it will be another spreadsheet that people
So it'd be a spreadsheet similar to the budget one, won't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that will need to be maintained, and we'll have to look at things and go, this contract, it's this much this year. We've said if it goes up by CPI, we're going to have to guess what CPI or whatever is for next year, and just read across for three years, 5 years. What do people think?
3 years.
3 years to start with.
A good budget until, wouldn't it?
Well, it starts you off on the budget.
I say, you know, when it comes to budget time, if you've got these.
It means you don't need a 3-hour meeting or however long it was before.
Oh, trust me, no, forget about that, man. It's political. Party political.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's a really good idea. I think it would be useful for all of us. I'm not convinced it would stop people disagreeing with the precept.
No, it wouldn't. It'd just limit the sort of the nature of a complaint, I suppose. Because if we need to raise it by 50% over 3 years, it's better to do it year on year on year rather than 50%. Everyone throws a fit.
I think
No. Everyone they don't throw a fit. No, serious. No.
A small proportion of people.
I think we as a council should get this in perspective. It's a minority.
That's true.
The number of people that say to me, not only do they think that the council's a good thing, but they disagreed with the council in the first place. Andrew Quarry is a perfect example of that, who was a councillor, and another political is stood as a independent political, but he's a Bingley resident, and he thinks it's a good thing now. So it is in the minority. The majority of people are happy.
what I'm saying as well, I think it's a good idea because we haven't had this, since the council. And I think it's good that if we have a 3 year, at least it gives us some more information to councils really to assess. And I think earlier on we said that. I know in this year with the other projects going up, with changing places, it was really hard in terms of the precept going up.
Well, we've got hit with a lot of costs there.
So obviously in the future, yeah, that's right. So in the future, we could probably monitor and, councils can be really reflect on this thing and really have a good idea to set the precept in the
What you
future.
can do is not argue about your fixed costs, it's
Yeah.
the variables that you can argue with.
Yeah.
That's
Sure,
where you
that's
come
right.
from.
And it also plays into the certification that you referred to at the full council meeting, Eve, because the bronze one doesn't require multi-year plans, but the silver one can.
That was either
or
the
does.
silver or the gold
It was
did,
the
didn't it?
gold, the one
Right.
that we're going for is the middle one.
Okay.
I think it's foundation and then quality. It's quality we're going for. The gold one, we'll have to go for that eventually, but I think maybe before we can walk on that one.
Yeah.
Go for the middle
Yeah,
one.
but if we can do something that's broadly in line with the goal,
Yeah.
then that's going to help in the
It's
future.
clearly what gold award councils do,
Yeah.
isn't it? So, yeah.
So our agenda item was to consider a multi-year project budget strategy. We have. Do we want to recommend something to full council? Or do we just want to tell full council we are going to put one together and we'll share
I
it
think
with
we
them?
should tell them that we're putting one together and
Yeah.
go forward
Yeah.
with it.
Yes.
Yep, fine.
So it's-
Don't enter debate, we'll be there all
No, no,
night.
no.
That's right.
So moving on, we've already done 22,
Look at me
23,
doing it,
34. So 22, 23, 35, the grant application. There's grant application paperwork in front of us for the Chamber of Trade for the Yorkshire Day
Where is it?
event.
That's the end of this month.
The Chamber of
That's
Commerce.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I said,
It's a different one to what I've got, there must be an amendment to it, is there?
right, where is it?
And they couldn't.
I mean, I can't get. I've no internet here, so I can't.
There you go, John.
I've never seen. Well, I've never seen it.
Yeah, we're doing
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never seen this.
Oh, sorry, we're not
I
got
think-
either, Ashraf.
Well, I'm
No,
at
no,
clean,
we-
clean
we-
and green, clean and green at
No,
23:36.
That was the original agenda
Yeah.
for last week.
There you go.
Ah, you've banged another one out since.
Yes.
When I sent this
Ah.
agenda around.
Yeah, there's more. There was some more. What they call it? There's some more attachments. One that's
How much
where
was
I've
it?
missed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have.
And I can't open them now.
That's probably the same thing, probably.
Can't you get on the internet, John?
No, I can, but I have to log it in here.
Let me know if you want to scroll down.
Yeah. How much is the amount there?
The amount is for 50% of 2,607.
7. Yeah.
Is that with all X? Is Chamber playing for first aid then?
He said he would. Yeah.
Right, you did.
That was
You
good
did.
actually, that price. I couldn't
Is that
believe
the
it.
you used?
I don't know if it is or not.
It was somebody from Skipton. And that
Oh,
was-
well, it will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Jack
fine. No, that's good.
Just,
Yeah,
just for those who were in that meeting, Howard did get back to me
Yeah.
from the one at Cottonley, and
Right.
he was quoting 250.
All right, well.
But I said that'd have been. I said yesterday that'd have been acceptable.
Oh, it would, yeah.
You know, but
No, it was a good price.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe it.
we used to pay 50 quid.
Well, if you want to do it, we do it for nothing. We don't do it.
So one small issue with the document, I don't think it materially matters. It says year ended 2021, which, given it's 2022, makes me think that it's a typo.
I think it went to the end of December rather than the financial year that the information received from the Chamber of Trade made.
No, on the document it says year ended 2021.
I think
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
their year is.
annual accounts. Yeah.
There's annual
Right.
accounts.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
rather than April, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay. What we talked about at EMAC was making sure that when we sponsor or help with events, that we make sure that we're given due prominence and that we're seen as being help
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
and visible in the
Much
community.
appreciation to help for the
as
town.
far as I know, we are on this.
That is, yeah, we are on it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are on the
50-50 on
market.
this.
Yeah.
We are on the marketing material.
Yeah,
as
I'm
well
not.
that way.
I'm not saying that about this. It's
No,
more
no,
of a general point.
this,
The principle is that we
and
agree to
you're
what they're
absolutely
after.
100% right, by the way. Yeah.
Are we happy to recommend it to the
Yes, I
council?
think we should.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Proposed by John, seconded by
Ashraf.
And,
Oh, Robert.
oh, Robert.
all in,
Robert,
everyone in
in favour,
favour.
yeah.
Okay, so skipping over lots because we've done them.
We
22,
will.
23, 37, green and clean.
Only that the plants have been ordered. There's a slight increase in the bulb prices, and there will be some more costs. The total we've ordered from Bradford Council is £805, which is well within what we've spent in the past. It's always been up to, I'll say up to 1,000 from memory. There are some one or two winter bedding things, bulbs, etc., that need ordering separately, as we did last year, because they're not provided by Bradford Council. But we're looking into some costing for that, and then that'll be ordered through administration here. I don't think there's.
I've had a gentleman ring me up about planting around Elwick.
Yeah.
And he's wanting some bulbs and bits and pieces. He must have seen something somewhere about the council.
Right.
He's got on to me and he's left me a message. I haven't gone
Who
back
is
to it.
who is it?
Good question. I'll have to.
Because
He sent me a note.
How's the deal through Tony, you see?
Yeah, well, this is another guy. There's another guy living down in the Swan Avenue.
Right.
So, I mean, if he wants some plants, I'll tell him to see Tony, or should I?
No. Tony's ordered. The order's in.
Right.
But tell him to get in touch with me and I'll have a word with him.
Okay.
That's all right, Councillor. That's all right.
Yeah,
I'll look after.
I'll get in touch.
Get him to get in touch with me and see
Yeah.
what he wants.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
can put him, because I've got him, put him in the picture where
No
we are.
problem, right.
The order from plant order and bulb order
Has gone in.
with Bradford Council
Yeah,
is in.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean to say
You can't get
that we can't get anything else.
Carlton.
Yep, and Carlton or alternative.
Yeah.
There's bulbs. Probably use a bulb supplier
Right.
that Edwin and I've used in the past. Cause
Oh, right,
I
okay.
get
Well, I'll get you his details, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, they send us a wholesale catalogue each year,
Oh,
so
right.
I'll look into
Yeah,
that.
okay, John.
In my neck of the woods at Crow Nest, there's Jer Wood, mainly dealt with by the Bradford Council.
That's right.
We never had any. We had some voluntary people from the town, from the area, putting in some plants in the spot.
Yeah. Right, I can update you on that because I've spoken on Saturday while we were doing a volunteering job at the station. Jane Dale, who is one of the 4 people who look after it's green and clean, so we're on this. They're very, very limited with what they do. They haven't really ordered any plants much. They do a little bit. They're concerned at the moment because they've got a willow arch stroke sculpture, and they're concerned about that because they're looking for volunteers to help them to thin it out and what have you. So there's 4 people there. They do always get the option to order plants or bulbs, and it's up to them whether they use that facility or not. Okay. Don't think there's anything else that I can think of.
What about your next litter pick?
Of course. Now, if it had been I've made the decision on Monday to do it at Cottingley. Not because there's a lot of litter at Cottingley, but because I haven't had any other recommendations, and we've done one in the past there. I'm still looking for anybody who wants to recommend an area, any grot spots, etc. It's getting harder, which is good news.
Yeah, it is good news.
I mean, I've come down from where I live now, round Grange Park and down there, and it was absolutely immaculate. There were no. Bradford Council are emptying bins regularly. What they seem to do is they come and empty for example, the parade in Cottingley.
Yeah.
So they come and there's 2 men on a wagon. So one guy gets out and empties the bin, and while he's emptying the bin, the other one gets his litter picker and picks any
Rubbish around.
just local rubbish around that area.
works
It's all right. It sort of works. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I'm having it. I've asked Nicola to organise it for Cottingley for this Saturday, 10 o'clock. We'll see how it goes.
Because I know at the partnership meeting I went to, I think Canal and River Trust and Shipley area are doing some work just off Britannia Bridge.
Right.
They're going to be cutting down some lots.
That's a good point. Now we've done one from that area in the past, one of the first ones we did, you get a lot of residue in among the trees there. Now, if they're cutting back, that's a possibility for the future one. And while we're on about that, it was recommended when we did the one at Healy Lane. It was recommended by one of the litter pickers there that our first litter pick of 2023 should be on that site, because there's a lot of rubbish in among the trees running up Dally Gap Road that takes you up to the railway bridge. There's a lot in among there, but it's covered with vegetation at the moment. Okay, so I
thought you'd said in the past that site was quite dangerous in winter.
Not that
I thought you said it was muddy.
No, that was Ely Lane itself.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, you're right. That was Ely. That's when I walked down Ely Lane. This is more Ely. We could do it from there, but that's more off the under the tree. Similar situation to where we were before, but
A bit further
between the railway and the road, that triangle. Yeah, that's what we recommended. So I've got to accept recommendation. We also, once we have done them on Gilstead Moor, look if anybody wants to have a look at that, or I'll have a look at that. Text recommendations.
Or if anyone in the particular area
yeah, absolutely,
you're open to suggestions.
I want to get as much historical stuff as we can, but but I'm really positive about what we've done.
Yeah.
And now Bingley's got the ambassador. There ain't much to do around here either, so
That's good.
So that's good.
It's great that there's not a lot to be done.
Absolutely. No. It is, yeah. So say yeah. Okay.
But
You'll take Robert.
But John, thank you for all your hard work on making sure that has happened over the years.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't happen.
So sorry.
It doesn't happen.
I'll take you home.
Oh, I've got to go, have I?
No, I'll take you.
Oh, good man, thanks.
Yeah.
You go for 10 pints first, you'll have to wait.
I'm so well looked after, I'm really lucky.
So there's no specific actions for us to agree there. So 22, 23, 38, SIL funding.
Right, now at the last meeting I made a suggestion which was approved for me to continue. I have nothing positive at this time. However, when Mark and I met the Festival Lights electrician, I took that electrician to look at the site. He measured up and he said he'll give us a price, but that's
Christmas might come first.
All right.
No, but I can follow it up with him.
This is relating to the bandstand.
This is talking about getting
Electric power
electric to the bandstand. Another thing, while that is SIL funding, I think there is other possibilities that I might spend some SIL funding money, but I'm not telling you at the moment.
Oh, come on, John, share.
Well, all right. If I can get photographs up. This is what I had in mind, because if we're talking spending money, I can spend some money.
So there's no change on the funding since last month, because obviously
Nothing's been spent.
Right, so, you can look at these. So, in 2020, Cotton Community Association got a grant from Bingley Town Council. Now, this ain't going to happen again, by the way. And the reason for that was, we have we call it the Green, but basically it's a big roundabout in Cottonley. And Cottonley Community Association Gardening Group maintain this. Now, the problem is that initially it was built with raised beds, which I've got photographs of. So this is what the raised bed looked like after the fungal damage. Okay? Right? And some of the pass it round and have a look. And while you're there, just scroll up and see what it looked like when we'd finished.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
That's Mockshire.
So, what at the moment? So, I've got 1,800
There you go, there's the
to.
Oh,
I've got £1,800 to do one bed,
there's the before.
but because willing volunteer, me,
I know it well.
Yeah, you live there, don't you?
Really good job, that.
and
Really good job, that.
so
£1,800 from where, John?
Bingley Town Council,
Oh, back in 2020 still.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
You've got a grant.
yeah. So that's what it looked like before. Yeah, and that's what it looked like after. Yeah. The photographs gone, Eve.
I don't know, they were just there then. Green technology.
Really technology. Yeah. Anyway, that's, you can see it on the wall. Anyway, we got a grant for one big bed.
Yeah.
But because we had a sympathetic builder and a willing volunteer,
Who we know is.
we actually managed to do the two for £1,800. It'll be a lot more than that because it'll have to be done by a contractor this time because the guy that did it, he's same age as me and he ain't doing it anymore. But I'm looking to get some prices to complete the other 3 beds. Some aren't as high, but I wanted to get
Can't even them all up.
I want to get them all done like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'm done. It's done,
Yeah.
and it's done for the future.
So
Okay.
you like to apply for some SIL money to do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that likely, if that were to come in, would that come from Cottingley Community?
Yes. This is why I keep telling Cottingley Community Association how important it is to keep Cottingley Community Association going.
Well, in Howard Chairman.
Pardon?
In Howard Chairman.
No.
Oh.
He hasn't been chairman for a while.
Oh, no. I thought he was Chairman.
No. He hasn't been chairman for a while.
right.
No. Another chairman, but he's about as keen as.
Howard.
Anyway.
So you've got another idea up your
That's
sleeve
that's
that
that's
might
an
come
idea
forward.
that I've got that's in the pipeline for me.
Cottingley will be applying for that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Cottingley Community Association will apply
for
to,
it, and so, yeah.
to Bingley Town Council for SIL money to use to do that project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think, have you got anything? No.
No,
You don't have to spend all our money.
No, but I'm trying.
No.
I mean, there's still other. I mean, that it's still money, and it could still come under green and clean. I'm still extremely frustrated about the Riverside project that I've been trying to get some sense out of. And I mean, I talked to Marcus Dearden on Sunday at Friends of Prince of Wales Park.
Was it there? I never saw it.
Yeah, it were on the gate early doors. Yeah, they were on the opposite gate to where you were.
Right.
Yeah, and it went. Yeah, we were there a couple of hours. Yeah, but
we still don't know what Bradford are doing with Riverside.
And that's another thing I think we've written to the chief executive. We've written to leader of the council. They say we're going to hear something, and we've heard nothing, and it's disappointing to say the least.
Do we need to write again?
Could we write to that Bill Indegainer, and I've sent the email that I'd sent originally to Eve, didn't I?
Yeah.
And she, I think, did you write to her?
No, we wrote to, it was in that letter that we had a few issues, wasn't it, that we wrote to
Susan Hinchcliffe,
Kirsten England.
Kirsten England, wasn't it?
yeah.
And
So-
then we got the letter back saying, we've
but-
looked at all your concerns, we will be in touch.
Just to remind you, what happened was that the latest I had from Bradford Council was an email from Brian Dobson to say that he had submitted some prices. I mean, there'll be loads they're out of date now. It's way out of date. I mean, that painting contract.
Well, they're
way
doing it.
out of date.
Are they on with it?
No. They're on with bits of they're fiddling around the edges, doing bits of it. Doing bits.
So we've still no idea what
we don't know what it's priced for.
We don't know what the whole project is, what they might be doing.
If they're willing to, the idea is to get it so it's fit for wheelchairs or prams or a firm access,
Disabled access.
and then and also to clear it and to signage it and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the idea.
So we want a follow up to.
I'd like to know
really, don't we?
if estates have any plans to regenerate the Riverside Walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it needs doing because when 2025 is coming quick.
Well, there we are. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it'll be an asset. It'll be an asset because it's used.
Is that to straight to?
Susan Hinchcliffe and Madam.
Yeah.
Or,
We've written to them once. They've written back saying they'll respond.
Well, she'll have been under some pressure of it, children's situation, haven't they?
Well, them, but
She's been down at the House of the Party, she's been on in front of MPs as
she has.
what they call it, Curse in England.
And then,
The chairman really hammered her,
Yeah.
and she won't forgive an answer.
coming back to civil funding, then.
Yeah.
The other thing we had on this agenda item is there was the NALC guidance on SIL.
Yeah.
I think we just note that. I think it's
Yeah.
very much in line with our own recent SIL policy.
Yeah.
I didn't spot anything that I think we've missed or anything. So,
there was just the email from Steve, wasn't there, sort of querying whether we needed to monitor it or whether that was just guidance.
well, I think we have to monitor every year to
Yeah,
report
we
back to
have to
Bradford
give a
anyway,
report.
don't
It
we?
says so, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It says so.
Because Bradford are effectively the official owners of SIL as the planning authority,
Yeah, that's it.
and we have to
Yeah,
report.
I'll just find the message from him. It wasn't. He sent it to me and you didn't it? Oh, I found it. Yeah, I ensure that the NALC guidance isn't going beyond what the law says we need to do. I do believe reporting is in law, but I'm not sure consultation isn't just a recommendation. Yeah, it was about the consultation. Because I think, did we put in our policy that you should consult about the spending of it, or is it?
No,
Well, it says well, the rate of SIL is set by the CA after consulting staff. Bradford, not ours, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we intend to consult anyway in
Yeah.
terms of what comes out of the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of a moot point, really.
Yeah.
We'll just note it. Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. 22, 23, 39, risk management. To review risk, identifying any new or unacceptable levels of risk to the town council. Does anybody know of anything? I think if we go forward with SIDS with us climbing up ladders, there'll be an awful lot to add.
No, so I think things like that we need to keep away from.
Yeah.
It's not in our remit, is it?
No.
But is anyone aware of?
I was going to ask, do we have a formal risk log?
We're still working on it. Yeah, we've got that meeting in August actually, haven't we, to discuss
Yeah.
Oh, is this one we're going to review?
This is the
Yeah.
one we're going to review at some point when we have a day to spare. But before we get to that, having that lovely day for this committee, the people putting it together are going to have a lovely couple of hours going through it, which is finally in the diary. I
Yeah.
think from mid-August, and then we will have fun with it. It's taken a little longer given everything else that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
So moving swiftly on. 22, 23, 40, the date of the next meeting. So that's 10th of August here.
I think we were going to sort of see if everybody was free then, weren't we? Because
We were.
I'm on annual leave that week, but I know August is a bit.
Oh, it's a flexible situation you want, because you will know surely council's availability.
No.
I don't know council's availability. No.
So what,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, how do you judge it?
Well,
People can say that. Yeah,
is everybody here around on the 10th of August or
Yes.
the 17th?
Yes,
Yes, to
10th.
both.
yes, that's it.
Yes.
We quarter.
Are you, Robert?
Yes.
Well, if we're available for both, why don't we go for the 17th so Eve can be available?
It would save Nicola doing 2 meetings in a row, wouldn't it?
Is everyone available for the?
17th, all right.
Is everyone available for 17th? Yeah.
What do you prefer yourself?
17th.
17.
17th?
Yeah.
So-
Go for that.
So
You'll tell Ashraf, will you?
Huh?
You'll have a word with Ashraf.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
good, yeah.
Well,
we'll get-
when we core it, which was our main concern, wasn't
Yeah,
it? But
yeah.
given it's the middle of the holiday season, so the next meeting
No, I've
of
got it,
FNGP will be on the 17th.
Ah.
Here at the hall.
I've got it, 17th of August.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so 22, 23, 41, exclusion of the press and public.
propose.
Seconded.
All in favour? Yeah. Give me a sec to stop this
By
recording.
YouTube.
Yeah. Goodbye, YouTube.
Yeah.